Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Before the first rotors hummed or the first cargo doors were kicked open, there was only the cold logic of the map. The planners in Langley looked at the rugged spine of Southeast Asia and realized that conventional victory was an impossibility. The jungle was too thick, the politics too volatile, and the enemy too decentralized. To win, they didn't need a bigger army. They needed a way to make the laws of gravity and the boundaries of sovereign nations irrelevant. They needed a ghost fleet that could materialize in the mist, deliver a war's worth of supplies, and vanish before the echoes of their engines hit the valley floor. The humidity in the Annamite Mountains is a physical presence, a heavy, damp blanket that smells of wet earth and aviation fuel. You are standing on a primitive Lima site, a hand-cleared patch of dirt barely 400 feet long, carved into the side of a 5,000-foot ridge. Below you, the clouds move like a slow-motion ocean, hiding the movements of the North Vietnamese army as they filter down the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The silence is shattered by the sudden guttural scream of a turbine engine echoing through the karst pillars. You watch as a Pilatus porter, I think it's Pilatus, Pilatus porter, it's a plane, drops out of the gray soup, its nose pointed dangerously toward the sheer rock face before it flares at the last millisecond, the oversized tires biting into the mud and gravel of the narrow strip. As the prop reverses, a cloud of dust and red clay kicks up, coating the local Hmong porters who are already scurrying toward the cargo door. You feel the vibration in your boots as the pilot keeps the engine running, a hot offload, knowing that every second on the ground is a second a North Vietnamese mortar team could be zeroing in on this precise coordinate. Close your eyes and feel the grit of the red soil between your teeth as the prop wash hits you. The sun is a pale, diffused disk behind the monsoon clouds, and the air is charged with the electric hum of high-frequency radios and the distant muffled crump of 105 mm howitzers firing from a neighboring peak. You aren't just an observer, you are a cog in a machine that defies international law. Every man here, from the blue-jeaned pilot with a concealed 357 to the Hmong teenager clutching a brand new M16, is a ghost. You are operating in a geographic blind spot where the only thing more vertical than the cliffs is the learning curve for survival. The air around you is thick with the organized chaos of a war that isn't on any map. To your left, a CIA case officer in a sweat-stained civilian shirt is shouting over the engine noise, checking manifests against crates of hard rice, the agency's slang for ammunition. To your right, a wounded guerrilla is being hoisted onto a stretcher, his face a mask of stoic pain, waiting for the return leg of the flight that represents his only hope for survival. This is the heartbeat of JGEAGLE. It is a world of calculated risk, improvised runways, and the terrifying beauty of a secret war fought in the thin air of the Highlands. In this era, the policy of containment has hit a vertical wall. The United States cannot officially send troops into neutral Laos, but the CIA have found a loophole. A secret war, fought by a surrogate army. The men standing around you are the Hmong, hill tribe warriors who have traded their traditional hunting rifles for modern carbines. They are led by the charismatic General Vong Pao, a man who believes that with enough sky support, his people can hold the high ground forever. How did the operation get its name? Records indicate that the CIA utilized the JG diagraph specifically for air operations in the Laos theater. Eagle was selected to denote the predatory nature and high-altitude surveillance capabilities of the fleet. It was a designation that allowed the agency to track flights under a standard military-style cryptonym while maintaining the legal fiction that these were commercial entities. Since we're pulling the tarp off the Highland shadow, let's see how JGEAGLE turned the laws of physics into a mere suggestion for the sake of agency logistics. Air America pilots were technically employees of the Pacific Corporation, a CIA holding company. The Helio Courier could take off in less than 75 feet with a stiff headwind. Missions were often flown without markings or tail numbers to maintain deniability. The Volpar Beach was used for high-speed photo reconnaissance during resupply runs. CIA operatives utilized the KWM-2 mobile radio for air-to-ground coordination. JGEAGLE utilized a kick-out method where porters literally kicked cargo out the door at low altitude. The Fairchild C-123 was often fitted with auxiliary jet engines for short-field performance. Lima Site 85 housed a top-secret TACON radar station for guiding bombers into North Vietnam. Pilots were paid hazard pay in cash to avoid a paper trail back to the Treasury. The Caribou transport plane was favored for its massive rear loading ramp and jungle clearings. JGEAGLE transported over 100 million pounds of food annually. Customer 1 was the internal code for the CIA station chief in Vientiane. The DHC-6 Twin Otter provided reliable ferry service between the mountain sites. Ground crews used hand signals and smoke grenades to guide pilots and to instrument hidden strips. The operation utilized Project Water Pump to train local pilots in Thailand. Air America maintained its own maintenance and overhaul facility in Tainan, Taiwan. The UH-34 Choctaw was the workhorse for downed pilot recovery. Raven forward air controllers flew unmarked O-1 bird dogs to mark targets for JGEAGLE supported strikes. The CIA used gold bars as emergency currency for pilots downed in remote tribal areas. JGEAGLE operated the world's most dangerous search and rescue service. The Sky Crane helicopter was used to move heavy artillery pieces to ridge tops. Missions were scheduled based on lunar cycles to maximize visibility for night drops. Air America mechanics often flew on missions to perform mid-air repairs. The Patty Bird was the nickname for the smaller supply planes that landed in rice paddies. CIA air operations officers were stationed at every major Lima site. JGEAGLE utilized parachute retro rockets to slow heavy cargo drops in tight valleys. Pilots frequently suffered from mountain sickness due to rapid altitude changes and unpressurized cockpits. The operation bypassed the Geneva Accord of 1962 by using civilian contractors. Air America utilized Bird Air as a subcontractor for even deeper deniability. The last flight out of Saigon in 1975 was an Air America helicopter, the culmination of JGEAGLE's lineage. Air America maintained a fleet of PBY Catalina flying boats for river-based insertions. The operation utilized belly hoppers, where crew members would jump from a moving aircraft to clear landing obstructions. JGEAGLE were often modified with high flotation tires to land on saturated jungle mud. The CIA operated a secret air freight audit to ensure no gold was being skimmed by local commanders. The Dornier Do-28 was utilized for STOL missions in high-density altitudes. Pilots utilized fake weather reports transmitted over open frequencies to lure enemy interceptors into anti-aircraft traps. The Highland Shadow logistical network included the clandestine transport of portable operating rooms to the front lines. Air America pilots were required to carry a blood chit, a piece of silk printed with multiple languages promising a reward to anyone who helped a downed aviator. JGEAGLE specialized in night static line jumps where Hmong guerrillas were dropped into triple canopy jungle without any ground illumination. The Curtiss C-46 Commando was known as the flying coffin among JGEAGLE pilots due to its tendency to catch fire during mountain ascents. Some Lima sites were so narrow that aircraft wings actually brushed against jungle foliage during the landing flare. The operation utilized acoustic sensors dropped from planes to detect North Vietnamese truck movements on the trail by sound alone. Air America operated its own secret aviation insurance fund because no commercial company would ever cover missions in a non-existent war zone. Pilots often used liquid fertilizer as an improvised explosive component when resupplying remote demolition teams. The Highland Shadow record includes missions where aircraft were used to herd livestock into drop zones to provide immediate fresh meat for hungry Hmong battalions. CIA technical teams developed a hook and winch system used by JGEAGLE to snatch intelligence packets off the ground without landing. Pilots utilized oxygen canisters designed for hospital use to survive unpressurized flight above the weather peaks. The operation maintained a secret aviation cryptology unit to decode enemy radar signatures in real time. JGEAGLE utilized cold storage containers disguised as humanitarian food crates to move sensitive biochemical samples. Many pilots were recruited specifically for their bush flying experience in Alaska, where the terrain mirrored the vertical challenges of Laos. The operation used propeller pitch adjustments as a primitive form of signaling to ground units when radio silence was mandatory. CIA operatives utilized fake IDs from multiple neutral countries to ensure that any captured pilot would cause a diplomatic nightmare rather than a direct link to Washington. The de Havilland Canada DHC-4 was the first plane to prove that heavy equipment could be landed on a 15-degree incline. Air America maintained a secret hangar in Udon, Thailand, that was capable of rebuilding an entire airframe from spare parts in 72 hours. Ground crews utilized elephant pumps, manual siphoning systems, to refuel aircraft when electrical fuel pumps failed in the high humidity environment. A quote from Richard Helms: "The requirement for absolute secrecy meant that our pilots were the only men in history to win a war and not be allowed to tell anyone they were in it." Quote from a declassified memo to the National Security Council: JGEAGLE was not just a logistics operation, it was the backbone of our entire paramilitary strategy in Southeast Asia. Quote from Air America Chief of Operations, but it doesn't say his name. "We need more tonnage than most major international airlines, but our runways were paved with dirt and bordered by anti-aircraft guns." Quote from a declassified CIA station log dated 1967, "The Hmong guerrillas are our most effective weapon against the North, but they are entirely dependent on the CIA air bridge for survival." Quote from a declassified Internal Directorate of Plans briefing, "If we lose the Lima sites, we lose the war in the shadows." Quote from a declassified technical evaluation of Air America operations, "The versatility of the STOL aircraft allowed us to ignore the geography that crippled the conventional army." And a quote from a declassified memo that says Office of General Counsel report on Proprietary-Airlines, but again, no name given. "Our pilots are civilian in name only. Their missions are as kinetic and dangerous as any Air Force sortie." End quote. Despite the declassification of thousands of Air America files, the most sensitive parts of the JGEAGLE operational history remain buried. The heaviest redactions are found in the Operational Project File folder 42B, titled Indigenous Compensation and Collateral Management. This section consists of approximately 340 pages that are almost entirely blacked out. These redactions are justified under FOIA Exemption B1, National Defense, Foreign Policy, and Exemption B3, Information Protected by Other Statutes, specifically the CIA Act of 1949. I suspect these pages contain the General Vang Pao payments and the black market audit detailing how the agency may have funded operations through the heroin trade. It likely contains the abandonment criteria outlining the exact metrics used to decide when the Hmong allies were no longer cost effective to support. I also suspect that there's probably some details about opium for arms exchange, speculating that the agency may have turned a blind eye or even facilitated the transport of raw opium from the Golden Triangle to fund the Hmong resistance. The target designation logs for the years 1968 to 1970 are heavily redacted, likely hiding the fact that civilian contractors, independent contractors, were directly calling in lethal airstrikes on non-military targets to protect the logistics hubs. Finally, the post-conflict exfiltration plans remain secret, possibly because it outlines how many Hmong allies were intentionally left behind when the U.S. withdrew in 1975. Where the flight logs end, the shadow theories take flight. There is a theory about the invisible C-130. This speculation suggests the CIA utilized stealth-modified C-130 Hercules aircraft that were painted with light-absorbing material and utilized sound suppression technology to fly directly over North Vietnamese headquarters at night without being heard. Then there's the weather warfare speculation. Some believe that JGEAGLE served as a cover for Project Popeye, where pilots supposedly seeded clouds with silver iodide to induce a monsoon-level flooding on enemy supply lines. Something that might sound outlandish, and I forget, I might have even done an episode on Project Popeye. In some episode, I don't remember what the operation or the project was. Anyway, I learned, and you learned as well, that during the church committee reports, that was the first time in the 70s that the military acknowledged that, yes, indeed, they had been seeding the clouds in Vietnam to cause an extension of the monsoon season. And they were successful. I can't remember if it was 30-something or 40-something extra days of rain that they were able to create. So even though this one is a conspiracy tied specifically to this, I'm just letting you know that it actually is a fact that they admitted to. Then there's the Hollow Mountain theory. I like this one. It's a persistent conspiracy that suggests the CIA carved a massive multi-level underground base inside a mountain near Long Ting, hidden by a fake rock facade. And lastly, there's the living cargo conspiracy. Some theorists speculate that JGEAGLE flights were used to transport UAPs or extraterrestrial aircrafts discovered in the remote caves of Laos, using the secret war as a perfect cover to move non-human technology to black sites in the United States. Was JGEAGLE a success? Tactically, it was a miracle of logistics. For over a decade, a small group of civilian pilots and agency officers held off the entire weight of the North Vietnamese army in the highlands of Laos. They maintained a ghost army that tied down thousands of enemy troops who otherwise would have been fighting in South Vietnam. JGEAGLE proved that vertical envelopment and aerial sustainment could work in the most hostile geography on Earth. It was a masterpiece of unconventional warfare that achieved massive results with a relatively small footprint. Strategically, it was a tragic checkmate. Despite the tactical brilliance, the operation could not overcome the political realities of the era. When the United States signed the Paris Peace Accords, the Hmong were essentially abandoned. The very success of the JGEAGLE resupply network created a dependency that proved fatal once the wings were clipped. While it fulfilled its mission of containment for a time, the ultimate collapse of Laos to the communists in 1975 suggests that air support alone cannot win a war of ideologies. As far as operational and technological breakthroughs go, as one would assume, JGEAGLE led to quite a few. For instance, short takeoff and landing pioneering. The techniques developed by JGEAGLE pilots to land in extremely confined high-altitude spaces are the foundation of modern bush piloting and remote logistics. The intelligence community currently uses these refined STOL protocols for the clandestine insertion of sensors and small teams into anti-access aerial denial, A2AD zones, where traditional runways are unavailable. The military utilizes these same landing profiles for special operations command missions in mountainous border regions, ensuring that inaccessible terrain remains a viable staging ground. The capability allows for the deployment of rapid response units in areas previously deemed unreachable by air. High-altitude aerial resupply. The precision drop methods, calculating wind drift and jungle canopy penetration, have evolved into the JPADS, Joint Precision Airdrop System, used today. The intelligence community employs GPS-guided steerable parachutes to deliver autonomous surveillance drones or survival caches to deep cover assets without the need for a landing. Modern military logistics rely on this legacy to sustain isolated outposts in hostile territories, reducing the need for vulnerable ground convoys and allowing for high-altitude delivery that stays above the reach of man-portable air defense systems. It ensures that critical supplies can reach their destination regardless of local anti-air capabilities or terrain obstacles. Clandestine commercial front operations. JG Eagle's use of Air America as a proprietary front established the operational blueprint for modern private military contractors, PMCs. Intelligence agencies now manage a complex web of ghost companies that provide everything from global shipping to satellite bandwidth, masking government intent behind a veil of corporate activity. The military uses these dual-use fronts to position equipment and personnel in strategic choke points worldwide under the guise of commercial infrastructure development or humanitarian relief. This commercial cloaking allows for a global footprint that remains legally and politically indistinct from standard trade. And then night vision and terrain mapping. The early attempts at night drops in Laos led to the development of sophisticated FLIR, forward-looking infrared. The intelligence community utilizes modern multispectral imaging to identify subsurface structures or camouflage positions from high altitude in total darkness. The military integrates this with synthetic aperture radar to allow strike aircraft and transport teams to navigate through sandstorms, smoke, or dense fog, turning the environment as an obstacle into the environment as a shield. It effectively removes the cover of darkness or poor weather from an adversary's tactical advantages. The legacy of JG Eagle is written in the silence of the mountain peaks. It was an operation that existed in the gray space between war and peace, civilian and military, shadow and light. It taught us that the sky has no borders and that with enough grit and plains, even the most remote ridge can become a fortress. But it also stands as a reminder that the cost of clandestine alliances is often paid by those who are left on the ground when the last plane disappears into the sunset. The technical mastery achieved in the clouds over Laos was bought with a currency of extreme risk and total deniability. Every pilot who pushed a radial engine to its breaking point to clear a limestone karst was unknowingly drafting the future of global power projection. We now live in a world where the secret air bridge is a permanent fixture of international relations, a silent infrastructure that moves the world's most dangerous secrets while the public looks the other way. The operation represents the first true global supply chain weaponized. It proved that if you control the sky, you control the narrative, even in a country where the ground is constantly shifting. The Highland shadow remains a haunting example of how far a state will go to achieve its goals without ever admitting it was there, leaving behind only the rusted husk of silver wings and the quiet grief of the mountains. Ultimately, the ghost of Air America lives on in every unmarked drone and every deniable special activity conducted in the modern era. We have not moved past the era of the Highland shadow. We have simply refined the tools. The lesson of the plane is that when the stakes are high enough, the rules are merely obstacles to be bypassed by a skilled pilot and a redacted memo. In the secret war, the logic is more dangerous than the rifleman. Plausible deniability is a shield for the sender, but a trap for the receiver. Never trust a walled garden that depends on a key held by a foreign power. And remember, the shadow of the mountain is where the truth hides. Thanks for listening, and join us next time as we investigate AE Knife, a surgical and ruthless action program targeted at the heart of Soviet-backed movements. We'll look at the elimination protocols, the long-distance surveillance of guerrilla leaders, and the ethical abyss of the CIA's sanctioned targeted assassination campaigns. Join us next time for The Blade in the Dark. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.